Hello and welcome to 10 for 10, 10 sports topics with the News 10 sports team. I am sports director Griffin Haas, and it is the 10 for 10 debut of Tommy Valentine. 10 for 10 with Tommy. If we ever need an alliteration, we've got it. Welcome to the show, Tom.
It's great to be here. I mean, you and Brian have been putting in so much good work. I figured I'd finally try and contribute a little bit.
We've been trying to get you in here. Schedule has prevented it. No Brian today, so no better time than to get Tommy in here. And we have a lot to talk about, starting with the Super Bowl. The New England Patriots advancing to the Super Bowl to take on the Seattle Seahawks. And it's a matchup that, if you said it before the year, you had a good stat on that earlier in the week. That what was it? What were the odds?
I think it was, I don't know the exact odds, but based off preseason projections to win the Super Bowl, it was the most unlikely matchup in over 50 years.
So there you go. No one really had Sam Darnold versus Drake May at the beginning of the season, but here we are. And I guess before we get to the game matchup, we could also talk about the AFC Championship game. A lot of people complaining about the weather. Get over yourselves.
Football.
Get over yourselves.
Yeah.
They win 10-7, the Patriots, over the Broncos in Denver. Listen, it snowed. Yeah, it snowed. It snows in Denver. They know what snow is like. These are two cold weather teams. Not like one's a warm weather team.
January, that's kind of how it works.
That's kind of how it
same
works.
thing if it was in Buffalo.
And it did impact the game. There's no doubt that it impacted the game. Especially, I mean, the Patriots had that 10-7 lead, and the snow hit, and no one was really able to score. And the Patriots, I think, were able to kind of just go conservative and say, we're not going to let Jarrett Stidham beat us in the snow, and that worked pretty well. I actually saw a take, I forget who it was, and it was like, this was unfair because the Patriots had the lead when it was snowing. And my advice would just be, okay, for the Broncos, get the lead.
Yeah.
That would be a good idea.
Don't let Drake May break a contain on a 3rd and long, and don't let Jarrett Stidham get pressured and do that weird little shovel pass that, leaves it up again to the officials.
Also, don't go for it on 4th down in the beginning of the game when you have Jarrett Stidham as your quarterback. Points are probably at a premium. If they kick that field goal, the game is tied, and they might still be trying to score as we speak. It's hard to really say. The Patriots did what they had to do. They grinded out a win, and there's still people who are not believing the Patriots because of their schedule, and that's going to continue. But bottom line is they're doing what they need to do. They've made it this far. Those doubters should be put to bed at this point.
It's the NFL. It's not like college football where you can stack up easy non-conference schedule or anything. They played the teams on their schedule. They played them well. And then, like you said, they did what they had to do in the postseason. They've played really good defense, and they've gotten it done. They picked off C.J. Stroud 4 times in that first half. They got by the Chargers, and they did enough to beat the Broncos.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's confusing this with the 07 Patriots, who actually didn't even win a Super Bowl, one of these superpowers. But there wasn't that in the NFL this year. That's kind of the point. It was as wide open of a year as there's ever been, which I think is good for football. And the Patriots took advantage because they have a great coach that the Titans fired. Crazy.
Shout out Titans.
And in his first year, he turns them around from 4-13. And now here they are going to the Super Bowl. And we had the stat also of he's going to be the first coach to start for a franchise and be the head coach for a franchise in a Super Bowl game. So it's not always pretty. It hasn't been pretty. There's a reason I also think on the other side of it that the Seahawks are favored in this game. But the whiners and complainers of schedule and all that, I'm done with that.
Once you're in the Super Bowl, there's really that argument goes out the window, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I mean there's really not a lot to digest, in my opinion, from this game. I mean, the Patriots were the beneficiaries of that horrible turnover. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. But they got after Jarrett Stidham from the start. I mean, obviously it's Jarrett Stidham, but they brought it to him. They played great defense. They're also they keep forcing turnovers, and then talking heads are like, well, the quarterbacks keep turning the ball over. Well, it's at some point,
why do you think they're turning it over?
The defense is forcing turnovers. It's that's a huge part of football. And I don't know, maybe their head coach has something to do with that, who is an instinctive linebacker. They played great on defense. The offense, it's really hard. I mean, it's really hard to. The Denver has a great defense already, let alone in those conditions. So it's hard to take away a lot from that game. So in my opinion, they got the job done, but there's not like a ton that you can take from that game as far as something that's going to carry over or, wow, we learned a ton about the Patriots. Like, they just kind of grinded one out.
They did what they had to be the better team that day, and now they're in the Super Bowl.
And now we move to the Super Bowl, and they're playing the Seahawks, who beat the Rams 31-27 after obliterating the 49ers 41-6. And I think that this has been a team. I mean, how many have they won? I'm looking at the win streak right now. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to end the regular season, and then 2 in the post. So 9-game win streak. I think this is a team that, especially myself included, in the middle of the season, that you're waiting for the wheels to fall off.
Exactly.
A little bit,
you're waiting for Darnold to be Sam Darnold,
which has happened with the Vikings last year. Like the Vikings, it was the same story. Like the great defense, but eventually Sam Darnold's going to be Sam Darnold, and he has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
You got to give credit to Clint Kubiak, who's obviously getting a lot of head coaching interviews that he can't do right now, but for a reason, because their offense has been incredible. JSN has been unbelievable, best receiver in football this year.
Yep.
You're kind of been waiting for it to fall apart, and it just hasn't. And their defense is nasty.
They put pressure on you. Outside of if they don't commit that one taunting penalty, that game could be 2 scores at the end. I mean, they're physical, they're mean, and it's kind of like the whole Legion of Boom type deal back in the day a little bit. I mean, they have that similar vibe, and they're rock solid off, and they're doing this without Charbonnet, which is pretty impressive. He's a pretty big goal line weapon to have. And Kenneth Walker stepped up. He's been phenomenal.
This is a great outlet for my Charbonnet take. I just never understood why they were giving him the ball that much. I got to be honest with you. Like, I just don't understand it. They get to the goal line, and I get that he's like a little bowling ball of a guy that you just want to jam in there. They get to the goal line, they're like, we got to put Charbonnet in. And it's like, do you have to put Charbonnet in? Because Kenneth Walker has now, he only had 60 yards in the last game, but scored a touchdown on the goal line.
Phenomenal move on that touchdown.
3 touchdowns against the 49ers, ran for 116 yards after Charbonnet went out. I've always thought that Walker was the better back. I get splitting it, but it was just the fact, you give them both carries, the fact that they were like, every time we're on the goal line,
send in Charbonnet.
We got to put in Charbonnet for a 1-yard loss.
He's our guy there.
We need a 1-yard loss. We need to stuff to the line. But no, I mean, he still is a big part of their team. They're doing it without him. I think the Seahawks are favored by 4.5 in this game.
Was what I saw. I think that's fair because, they pummeled the 49ers. They beat a team that I still think the Rams were at the time. They were my pick to win the Super Bowl. Yeah. I thought they were still the best team in football, and obviously that was proven wrong. But
we both talked about this game, and I think we both felt like the Rams would get over the hump. Just believing in McVay and Stafford over Darnold, and not even a slight to Mike McDonald, but just hasn't obviously been there before. But he's done a tremendous job. And just thinking that, in my mind, it's like, is it really going to be like the whole time you're looking at the quarterbacks and you're like, are these guys really going to be playing for the Super Bowl? And it's like Stafford will find his way in, and then it'll be Stafford, and that'll make sense. But no, it's Darnold and May. May is young, but Darnold, the fact that Jets fans cry your eyes out. We'll get to you guys in a second, but just not good. And good for Sam Darnold, honestly, because he was able to get out of a bad situation there.
Took his lumps.
Bounced around the league, was bad in Carolina, up in San Francisco. And obviously played in Minnesota last year and has been fantastic for them. And we'll dive into this game more as it gets along because it is a long ways out. Not this Sunday, but the next. And there's going to be the media days and all that stuff. And I feel like whenever you think about a Super Bowl, you feel one way in the beginning, and then it gets closer, and you consume more, and you're like, I'm starting to...
So-and-so's playing with this injury, and...
I lean Seahawks in this game just because I think their defense is that good, and... we're also getting Seahawks slander that they haven't played anybody, which is, I think, ridiculous.
After beating the Rams twice now.
That's starting to pop up, which I saw, which is ridiculous. But I think that their defense is the best unit out of the 4. And I think that the offenses are pretty similar, although the Seahawks has been more potent.
Yep.
I think Drake May might be has a higher ceiling than Darnold, and Darnold, you never know. Again, maybe this is the game where he becomes Sam Darnold again.
Yeah.
But I think the defense of Seattle and the Patriots defense has been great. But if I'm gonna, count on one unit to show up in this game, I think it's the Seahawks defense.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But we got a long way to go. We will check in on this game more as the weeks go along. You can stay with News 10. We'll have plenty of coverage. But we have to stay with a similar Patriots subject.
Talking about wild takes.
I can't believe that we're even having to have this discussion. And I've been asked, what's your opinion on this for days now in the newsroom and just out and about. People asking me about this. Bill Belichick, not a first ballot Hall of Famer. The reason I laugh about having to give people when people ask me what do you think about it, I'm like, what do you think that I think about this? I can't believe there's another opinion. I can't believe that there is a differing opinion that Bill Belichick should not be a first ballot Hall of Famer. It's absolutely ridiculous. This guy is an 8-time Super Bowl champion, 6 as a head coach, 2 as an assistant coach, not to mention that he was the GM for the Patriots for most of those years.
Yeah.
You can make an argument that he should be in the Hall of Fame as a head coach, as an assistant coach, and as a general manager. If you took any of their credentials just individually, not a lot of assistant coaches in the Hall of Fame, but if there were, he'd be at the top of the list.
Yep.
If he is not a first ballot Hall of Famer, then we should not have first ballot Hall of Famers.
It was so funny. I was off the last couple of days, and I was just scrolling through X, and all of a sudden I just see an ESPN notification pop up, Bill Belichick, Hall of Fame, and I just kept scrolling. I'm like, oh, Bill Belichick, first ballot Hall of Famer. Yeah, that makes sense. I just kept scrolling. And then when you sent me the list of topics we'd be going over, and I see Bill Belichick, I'm like, and then I went back and read it. I didn't even know
that this was a thing?
I went back and looked at it again. I'm like, wait, he's not.
Yeah, you have been off the last couple of days, so that makes sense.
Like, you gotta be kidding me.
I have been asked about this. This is the sports question that the non-sports fans are coming up to me and what do you think about this?
Yeah, I'll tell you.
And that's actually really funny because, I read it and I was at my desk and I read it and I was confused and then I read it again.
You have to make sure it's not a parody account.
And then I read it again. Well, I have Shefty notifications on.
There you go.
I don't mess around.
That's tried and true.
I got Shefty. He's ready to go. And I read it 4 times and I was like, I don't even know how to comprehend this. Now, people are saying that this could be a punishment for Spygate and Deflategate. And I would just like to say, this is a personal message. If you are still complaining about Deflategate in the year 2026, get a life. Get a life. Because we're talking about footballs that were deflated by 0.3 PSI. They beat the Colts by 40. I mean, they destroyed the Colts.
Really,
I don't even know. Remember
PSI really did it.
They destroyed the Colts. It was not even a contest. And now we got guys like Bill Polian who says he did vote. At first he didn't remember if he voted for him. Feels like you should remember that. If you can't remember who you voted for maybe you shouldn't be voting.
Yeah.
So you can't remember. Then it's no, I did, and it's a statement. It's a whole thing. I don't really buy it. Every voter is saying they voted for him. Can't be possible.
No.
Deflategate was a joke when we look back on it. I'm a Dolphins fan. At the time, I was like, let's go get him. We got him now. We got him now. We got Tom Brady's cell phone. We're that's ridiculous. We subpoenaed not we. The NFL subpoenaed Tom Brady's cell phone because of possibly slightly deflated footballs. Give me a break. And people are going to say they're cheaters, whatever. This stuff happens more than you'd probably think.
Sure.
But obviously everyone wanted to go for the Patriots. And I was with it. I was in on it. I saw a quote, Mike Shanahan, who now is possibly going to have to wait longer to get into the Hall of Fame because Bill Belichick didn't get in. Mike Shanahan should also be in. That's another story. Mike Shanahan was asked about Deflate or Spygate in 2007 or something like that. And he was like, I wish I would have thought of that. All of these coaches are trying to get an edge.
And they took their lumps for that. I mean, Belichick was fined $500,000. They lost a first-round pick. So it's they got penalized. They don't need to be penalized, 19 years later? What was that, 2007, somewhere around there?
We don't need
what are we talking about?
Another penalty for that. They paid their dues. They've been, ridiculed. Even if you take those 2 Super Bowls out, he won 4 as a head coach, and he won 2 as an assistant.
Still a first ballot.
Even if you disqualify those Super Bowls, but then people are going to be like, oh, you never know what they're doing. Every coach is trying to get an edge. Jimmy Johnson talked about they hired guys to try to steal signs. This one just used a camera. Yeah. Do I think they should do it? No. But they paid their dues. Yeah. We're moving on. There is no way.
It's almost unethical to keep him out.
It is. And that's why the Pro Football Hall of Fame said they're looking into kind of like what the process has been like.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I'm like, why are we even talking
having this conversation?
Yeah, like if you have to argue about, and he's going to get in.
Yeah.
But he should be a first ballot guy, and it's just it's ridiculous. And I grew up a Dolphins fan. I've been a Dolphins fan my whole life. I've never been a huge fan of Bill Belichick. I've rooted against him my entire life. Yep. Eventually you become numb, but that's another story. The Bill Belichick slander is getting a little out of hand, and I get the Jordan-ness of it all.
It's
and
strange.
I get the girlfriend, and it's weird, and that's fine. And now he's a head coach in college, and they
bring
stunk.
His personal stuff
and they stunk. And I don't think that that's what it is. I'm just talking about it as a whole.
Yeah.
I almost feel like he's somewhat complicit in that aspect of it. Is like the Belichick brand has tanked. It's not
looked good the last couple of years.
And it's just like, can we just like take a step back and remember how great Bill Belichick was as a coach and general manager, and it's ridiculous. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're talking Bills and Jets. All right, welcome back to 10 for 10. We now are moving on to the Buffalo Bills. They have concluded their head coaching search and decided to promote from within, and they've promoted Joe Brady to be the head coach. Okay. Yeah. So they had the press conference today, and we can maybe get to more of that. I think he did a great job. Like he presented himself very well. I think he hit the right tones. It was a very stark difference from the press conference that Brian and I had discussed with Brandon Beane and Terry Pagula, where it was bizarre and they were throwing Keon Coleman under the bus, trashing players, seemingly blaming coaching, even though Brandon Beane said today he wasn't trying to do that. He definitely did. The tone was very different, and he even thanked Sean McDermott for giving the opportunity and talked about how he built this foundation, and like he knows he's taking over a better situation than Sean did. So like he had all the right tones. This is not even really a slight, at least my opinion, is not really a slight to Joe Brady. He had interest elsewhere. Their offense has been great, although it helps to have Josh Allen. I just never like the optics or the just hiring. You're saying that the coaching has prohibited us from breaking through the playoff wall, and then you hire a guy on staff. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
And it historically hasn't really worked. Like Gerard Mayo, Antonio Pierce, Ben McAdoo.
I added them all up. It was them, Dennis Allen, I think, was on that list. Mike Mularkey, Doug Marrone.
Schottenheimer's still in it right now. With the Cowboys, the jury's out a little bit on him.
Freddie Kitchens.
Yep.
So they were, over the last 10 years, guys who have been promoted from coordinator to head coach of the same team are 111 and 170.
It's not going to cut it.
It's not good.
It's not going to get you to the Super Bowl.
It's not, no. Now, I will say, none of those guys had Josh Allen. And usually, those guys were hired by teams like the Browns and the Jaguars and the Titans and the Raiders, who like didn't really have a lot of interest elsewhere, and it wasn't a very desirable job. We'll just hire this guy. He's over here, and we like him. So it is different. But the bar is different. So, like, Joe Brady now, his success is going farther than Sean McDermott, going to a Super Bowl. Obviously, they went to the divisional round last year, but they've been to the AFC Championship game. So that is the bar. And I think he said he knows that expectations are high, and that's where they have to go. It's just, is that the guy that's going to do it? And they talked a lot today about, he was just running the offense, and when we heard his vision for the whole team and the CEO aspect and how he's going to run everything, that's what sold us. And maybe that's true. Maybe there are a lot of things and ideas that he has that are different than Sean. I'm sure that's the case. I know him and Josh Allen are close, and him and a lot of the guys are close. I don't know. It just feels like a situation where starting anew could have been more favorable than just kind of picking a guy on staff.
Yeah, and I get a lot of people are talking about, well, you don't want to lose a great offensive mind like him, like you see, like you want to have the regret that maybe the Lions do with what Ben Johnson's doing right now, and other guys that have had success, but like I don't know, feel kind of a slightly lateral move.
Yeah,
he's a good coach. He led it, but again, it's Josh Allen, won an MVP. I like the way he did it this year. I mean, James Cook wins a rushing title. So he's a good coach, but I feel like they could have benefited from maybe just a different voice leading the charge.
And again, they were afraid of him leaving, but at the same time, a lot of Bills fans have been frustrated with his play calling, with the screen passes on the 3rd and long.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's like, we were this, since he's been promoted, we are second in points per game. It's like, well, Josh Allen's the quarterback. Like, you were really good when Brian Dable was the offensive coordinator. You interviewed him too.
Yeah.
So And Brian Dable was the one who really kind of molded Josh and helped mold Josh into what he is. Again, Joe Brady's a good offensive coach. That's not necessarily the critique, although there are still frustrations there. It is just, and again, and also he was asked today, it's like, you guys had the ball with a chance to win at the end of these games, and he took responsibility for it. But again, he's a part of, just like Sean McDermott is a part of not breaking through. He's been a part of not breaking through.
Yeah, their offense has faltered, like you said. Their offense has faltered in big moments.
And turned the ball over 5 times. And Josh Allen will say that's his fault, but again, Joe Brady, rightfully, like as a coach does, took responsibility for that.
No.
So it's hard to get excited about it, and it could work. Like, and you never know. That's the biggest thing with coaches is like obviously on the outside, except for like certain situations where like the Browns hire Todd Monken, where you're just like, that's not going to work because they're the Browns, and that's Todd Monken. But and he's a 60-year-old first head coach. But this isn't a Brown show. Shout out Dave Rush, our assistant news director. Like those you can kind of tell, but a lot of times like you have no idea. I'm really excited for the Dolphins for Jeff Hafley. I hope, especially because he's a local guy, that Jeff Hafley does great. I have no way of knowing that, and he knows that. He'd say the same thing.
It's a new, fresh voice. It's a different perspective.
They got to prove it, but it's just going on staff just was kind of like,
seems like
especially after Brandon Beane can deny pointing the finger at coaching all he wanted, but they said they didn't get through because of coaching, and then you hire a coach who was there. So and also though, like they got into the process late, partly because they were, still playing.
Further,
So they didn't get a crack at a John Harbaugh. They didn't get early in the interview process with either, Hafley or any of these other like hot commodities, Kevin Stefanski. Or they were already hired. And then also, they've been affected by not being able to interview certain coaches.
I was going to say, do you think if the Seahawks lose last week, maybe they hold off and try to push after Kubiak?
It's a possibility, and Brandon Beane was asked about it today, and he said, like, it's kind of a disadvantage to not only the team, but the coach, because then the coach has a harder time putting his staff together because the staffs are already being set, and it kind of punishes assistant coaches that help their teams get to Super Bowls in a lot of ways, and that process should probably be tweaked. It's constantly being tweaked and doesn't seem to ever work. So I think they at least would have interviewed him. I know you see the Cardinal, but it's different because another, I think, kind of dumb rule is the Cardinals and the Raiders can interview Clint Kubiak this week. The Bills cannot because they were in the playoffs. So if the Bills had not made the playoffs, they could still interview him this week.
Yeah.
But because they were in the playoffs, they wouldn't be able to talk to him until after the Super Bowl. So like you can't wait until after the Super Bowl. So that process is dumb. So that also is a part of it. Not saying that they just were like, oh, we'll go with Brady. They had good candidates, but and again, we'll see. The guys really like him. I think he did a great job at the press conference, but win the press conference doesn't really mean anything.
Too much yet.
So we will circle back on the Bills, and he's still got to fill out his staff, and he's working on that now. So that will probably be the next Bills talk we have. Also, Josh Allen did have surgery on his foot. He had 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 surgery on his foot came to the press conference on
crutches. Yeah.
So on crutches. So he was playing through a broken bone in his foot since week 16. So week 16. So shout out to Josh Allen. Speaking of building staffs or demolishing them, the New York Jets and.
Good thing Brian's not here for this one.
I wish Brian were here just for that. Not that I don't like talking to you, but I wish we could just bring him in for this one segment because there's nothing better than talking Jets with Brian. So where do you even start? So Aaron Glenn, apparently what I'm gleaning from this Jets decision making is the Jets being 3-14, it was everyone's fault but Aaron Glenn's. Because the defensive coordinator gets fired during the year. The offensive coordinator gets fired, which I said, and Brian was kind of on the fence and leaned more towards keeping Tanner Engstrand. I said they should probably get rid of him and just get a more established guy in there. They fired him 23 days after the season ended. Like, what are we doing? Like, make that decision a little quicker so you can interview top candidates. Sure. But that's not what the Jets do.
No.
Seems like they might go for Frank Reich or
Ronald Curry.
Greg Roman was another one, which Chargers fans have been kind of trolling that because they weren't too happy with him. They also let go a number of assistants. I'm not going to get into all these, but a number of assistants. So what that tells me is it was everyone's fault but Aaron Glenn.
Of course.
I don't believe that. I feel like if we look at it, it probably was Aaron Glenn's fault.
All those great time management calls he made at the half.
That was Steve Wilkes.
Those were other guys.
That was Tanner Engstrand.
That's it.
And he was talking about how great his staff was before the season. We're going to build a great staff and blah, blah, blah. And now all of a sudden it's like, we got to get these guys out of here. So they hire they handle things so poorly. It seemed like they were going to hire Wink Martindale, who's the defensive coordinator at Michigan. He's been around the NFL. He was obviously the DC of the Giants. And he's a respected veteran defensive coordinator. Aaron Glenn did not call the plays last year on defense. Steve Wilkes did. So the whole time, this is the reporting from SNY and other outlets, that Wink Martindale was telling people, like, it's done. I'm going to start assembling a staff. He went there for their last in-person interview, and all of a sudden, Aaron Glenn changed his tune and said, I'm going to call the plays. It's like, well, Wink Martindale's like, I'm not going to be your defensive coordinator if I'm not calling the plays. And that's where it collapsed. So then they lose Wink Martindale. They hire they bring in people for I think 9 candidates for in-person interviews. They interviewed Brian Duker, who is the Dolphins passing game and defensive backs coach. I have never heard of him. They interviewed him on Zoom once, and they hired him the next day. So they talked to other people multiple times and talked to people in person. Then talked to Brian Duker once, and we're like, you don't want to call plays?
You're the job.
You're my guy. So now Brian Duker is who was an assistant coach under Aaron Glenn in Detroit, is the new defensive coordinator. And again, I don't know how any of those moves are going to work out. It's just the way that they go about their business. They fire an offensive coordinator 23 days later after the season. They completely botched and are not transparent with their lead defensive coordinator, and then interview a guy on Zoom and hire him the next day. It's just so Jets.
Way.
It's just so Jets. I miss Brian. I'm sure he's. We're gonna have to talk to him. I'm gonna have to bring it up next week. I'll work it in there. But and so now we'll see who they hire as the offensive coordinator. I think Frank Reich would be a good call.
Yeah.
If Frank Reich is hired as the offensive coordinator, he will be the interim coach by week 8.
Week 8?
Week 10.
I think that's pretty fair.
I'm going to do week 10.
Week 10?
He will be the interim coach.
Jot that down.
Frank Reich's got interim coach written all over him.
He does.
He was literally an interim coach at Stanford.
Yeah, he did a great job at
year.
Stanford. They had their most wins since 2020.
So
he's a good coach.
It's just, what are your thoughts on the Jets, Tommy?
They stink. Yeah. And they do everything a weird way and a step too late, and they're just, I don't know, they're just the odd group. They're odd man of the bunch. It's just why did you do that? Why did you do it that way?
Aaron Glenn is not a good coach.
I don't
think so. It just is what it is. And they're just, they kept him this year so they could fire him next year, and they'll have a great draft pick and get a great quarterback, and they're going to start over. I have one more thing on the Jets. The most insulting job offer, not job offer, but job inquiry of all time. they asked John Gruden if he'd be interested.
I did see that
in getting on and going on Aaron Glenn's staff. That is so insulting to John Gruden.
It really is.
I'm insulted for him. You're going to ask a Super Bowl winning coach, John Gruden, who is still suing the NFL, which is probably a reason why he's not getting more head coach looks, because I think he has what it takes to still be an NFL head coach. If he wants to be on staff with Aaron Glenn,
and now Brian Duker,
that would be like going to like the I'm
like
trying
going
to
to
say
like,
it's a
I don't
nice,
know, like college. Like that'd be like asking Nick Saban to be like the head coach or the OC at like or DC like Mississippi State or something like that.
I was gonna say it would be like someone who's just like helping out in like a school cafeteria wanted to go and ask Gordon Ramsay if he wanted to be on his if he wanted to cook for him and be a part. I'm thinking about opening a restaurant. What do you think you work? What do you say you work under me? It's like, I think I have far more experience
I think I'm okay.
and are far more qualified.
He's having a lot more fun at Barstool, I feel like, than he would.
Yeah, I think he wants to be a head coach, whether it's college or the NFL. Like, I don't know if they have ties because Gruden was helping out with the Saints a lot, and I know Glenn coached with the Saints. Maybe they just know each other, and he was just like, might as well ask. But that is
to reach
an insulting and disgusting job inquiry. I hope John Gruden hung up the phone in 0.4 seconds. We're talking next after the break. All right, welcome back to 10 for 10. Big news in the NBA this week centers around Giannis Antetokounmpo. Nail it.
well done.
But it finally seems like even though he's still kind of denying that he's demanding a trade, it's like it's like the softest trade demand of all time. It's like we both are starting to realize that maybe it's better if we part ways, and the Bucks are now listening to offers. Giannis wants out.
Yeah, it's clear.
Rightfully so.
They're not doing anything with him.
Now teams are trying to muster up their offers and see if they get traded at the trade deadline. And obviously the Knicks are a team that have been heavily linked to him. My worry is that they might have missed their chance in the offseason when he was trying to force his way to the Knicks. And the Knicks had a little bit more flexibility to make a deal. I still don't know if they would have got him. I don't think the Bucks were ready to deal him at that point where I think they are now. The Knicks can make a deal. It just would have to be very creative. And I guess before we even...
I'm hearing a third team.
Yeah.
And they just don't have the draft pick because they don't have the draft picks right now.
They can only offer the Wizards pick, which is a lottery pick, which basically what that pick will turn into is 2 second-round picks. Because if it's lottery protected, the Wizards are going to be in the lottery. The Knicks are not going to get that. It'll turn into 2 second-rounders. Now... they're 2 pretty valuable second-rounders because the Wizards will most likely, they could be the top pick in the second round or the top 2 pick in the second round. So that could be valuable, but it is not a first-round pick, and they can't offer more than that. In the offseason, a lot of Knicks fans said wait. Hopefully this waits until the offseason as much as we want him now because then the Knicks can offer 2 first-round picks. They can't offer any right now. I guess also first we should talk about, so the Knicks lost 4 in a row, and it was looking real gross.
Here we come again.
And then they won 4 in a row. They absolutely killed the Nets in the biggest their biggest win ever, 54 points.
They're finally realizing, let's just not pass Karl Anthony Towns the ball. Let's just have Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges and
that's what it might be the ugliest 4-game win streak of all time. And I know the Raptors, they really took care of business in the second half. They've played their best basketball when Karl Anthony Towns isn't playing. And Karl Anthony Towns did have 16 rebounds in the first half against the Raptors. Yeah. But they play their best basketball when he's not playing, and that is a problem. And there's reports that Cat had his feelings hurt because the Knicks were thinking about trading him in the offseason for Giannis and a Giannis deal. So now he's upset by that. He's constantly bringing up Tibbs and seemingly undermining Mike Brown. That relationship doesn't seem great. Josh Hart made some because Josh Hart says that
whatever he
wants.
wants.
I love Josh Hart. Was kind of just like, we need him to buy in and play defense, and like was pretty candid about the issues with Cat.
Because the alternative is Mitchell Robinson, I imagine, down low, and he's always going to give you good rim protection, rebound the ball, and
and you could play him at the same time. It's just Mitch. You also have to be careful with minutes.
Shooting.
Well, in minutes
Yeah,
too. It's like he gets hurt all the time, and he can't play back to backs and all that stuff. But I think that I'm starting to think that this core is not capable with Karl Anthony Towns and the vibes. I didn't love the Cat move when they made it. I thought he's really talented, but you're losing a dog in Julius Randle.
How much better
and Dante
is Cat
DiVincenzo.
how much better is Cat than Julius Randle?
And they don't play defense. And now you have a guy down low who doesn't play defense, and Brunson tries to play defense, but he's not a great defender. So your point guard and your center in some lineups, two of the most pivotal defensive positions in terms of stopping penetration and then stopping people from getting the rim, are not great defensively. They can score a lot, not great defensively. So I already think, regardless of Giannis, like they could find a way, whether it's in the middle of the season or in the offseason, to get Cat out and fix this. I don't know what a Giannis trade would look like. It seems like they'd have to have a third team.
Yep.
And if it's like Giannis, I mean, they're getting rid of Cat and Bridges, which would be the first two gone, and then it's a mix of like Kolek and Clarkson kind of just shipping out and like some of the young guys. That's one thing. It seems like to really be able to, if the Warriors go all in, because the Warriors are going to be involved and they can offer a ton of picks, Jonathan Kuminga, like they have a lot to offer. They would have the top offer if they went all in. If they do that, it's going to be hard. If Giannis wants to play there, it's going to be hard for the Knicks to match that without possibly also trading OG and getting picks back for him and then kind of redirecting that. And that is Giannis. I'd probably do it, but that's where I start getting hung up. That's where it might be like, well, then what are we left with? Yeah. Then you're left with...
You need OG defensively.
You're left with Brunson and Josh Hart and Deuce.
And an injured Giannis. Like he's not healthy right now.
And Mitchell. And then you have him long term, but still, yeah.
You got to pay him a lot.
Yeah, so that's where I kind of get hung up, is just OG would be the line that I'd be concerned about.
I feel like there's another piece you can add in the offseason. Move Cat, better defensive player that
without getting Giannis.
Yeah, without getting Giannis. I think they're a really good, maybe flexible big man away.
I don't think he wants to do this. I think he would probably prefer it, but it seems like it's the Knicks or the Heat. But maybe the Knicks a little bit less than in the offseason. I saw a report today. We need him to strong. The Knicks need him to strong arm his way to the Knicks is what would I think have to happen, and be like, this is where I'm going, and this is what I want to do, and I'm not going to sign an extension with these other teams. I don't know if he has that in his bag, so to speak. I don't know if he is capable. He's a really nice guy. Yeah. He's already not wanted to do this in the first place. I don't think
he wants to hurt the Milwaukee.
So is he going to really force his way out? So that would, I think, be their best path. I still think you got to try to do it. He's such a generational guy that if you can get on your team and if you can pair that alongside, if you have Brunson scoring with Giannis's all-around ability and you have Giannis and Mitchell Robinson down low, all of a sudden the scoring might dip even a tiny bit, but not really, and their defense is vastly improved.
Yeah, because you still have Bridges, you still have
Bridges would
Clarkson.
be gone.
You think Bridges would be involved?
Bridges would have to be gone because the money would have to be. He would have to go for them to make the money work because he's $30 million.
But still, you get Deuce McBride and you've got Clarkson.
If you can keep OG, which would be and you could have Brunson and McBride and OG and Giannis and Mitch, with Josh Hart coming off the bench potentially, and maybe Clarkson. We'll see. They might trade him too, but that would be a team that would still be able to contend, and then hopefully you can make some tweaks to the roster in the offseason. Yeah. But I don't feel great about it. I do think that their offer can be beat and they can get creative.
I think the Warriors are in the best
might go
spot.
too far. So keep our eyes on that. We got to take a break. When we come back, we are talking baseball. All right, welcome back to 10 for 10, and we have gotten a lot of perspectives from the Mets side of things in the offseason, the Red Sox side of things with Brian in the offseason, but now we have a Yankee perspective on the offseason. You look very excited.
It's not an encouraging perspective.
So they signed Cody Bellinger. They intro Cody Bellinger to the media yesterday.
Love that. But, I mean...
Your thoughts?
It's the Brian Cashman effect.
You love him,
and it's love is a word. It's a love-hate relationship. It's grown into hate over the last few years. He just tries to force. He says the same thing over and over, getting Yankee fans to hopefully buy in. And it's not happening with me, because you can tell me till you're blue in the face. This is a different team.
Would you say that you're being gaslit?
Brian Cashman is trying to gaslight
you,
and I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a GM. I don't have the experience he does, but I know baseball. I have eyeballs, and I think anybody with eyeballs can see this.
Yeah,
they're right here.
I do. I didn't even notice that.
This is the same exact team as it was last year, and he could tell us till he's blue in the face. Well, we added Ryan Weathers, we added this guy from Colorado, and and Garrett Cole is coming back from the IL. It's the same team. It's just you're getting back a couple important pieces. Obviously, Garrett Cole is a massive piece, but 8 of the 9 guys who were in the lineup the last day of the year are going to be back in it on opening day. And the lone exception is Anthony Volpe. The only reason that's an upgrade is because Volpe stinks he's hurt, and you're going to implement Jose Caballero, which I'm excited about, but he doesn't move the needle.
No. The needle has not been moved.
It's the same. You're rolling, and the fact that he says, "Oh, this is a different team," and then Cody Bellinger says, "I'm excited." Literally, his words were, "I'm excited to run it back with the same guys."
And then they said it's not running it back.
But Cashman says it's not running it back.
He says, "I disagree. It's the same team running it back." Not afraid to run with the quality and talented roster of players that we do have. I think we've been consistent with that throughout the entire winter. I've been openly willing to challenge anybody that says we don't have a championship caliber roster and team. Yeah, so I have been unbiased when I cover the Mets or Yankees, because that's what we do, but I obviously love the Mets. And growing up, maybe not the biggest Yankee guy, but I tried to give the Yankee perspective last week because no one else was going to do it. Mr. Red Sox Brian Rudman wasn't going to.
No.
They call him Red Sox Rudman.
That's it.
But I was walking down the street with him the other day. Someone was like, Red Sox Rudman.
Hey.
Shout out. But the argument, and then Cashman made the same argument. And basically the argument is we're going to get Cole back, and we're not going to be the same teams. We're going to get Cole, and we're going to get we're going to have a whole year of Schlittler.
Schmidt's going to be back.
And Schmidt's eventually going to be back. And now we have McMahon for a full season, and we have Caballero for a full season.
Ahmed Rosario,
and they're going to perform better because they're going to be here and they're going to be comfortable, which that could be the case.
Maybe with McMahon, but like you kind of know what you're getting.
Rosario was coming off the bench. Like
Caballero.
he was just that is what it is. And Caballero, I would almost say at times overperformed, especially in the beginning. Like he played as well as he could have played.
Great defense. Like I'm excited to have him be our
starting. So the team going into the playoffs, which is what matters, because like no one's the problem with the Yankees has never been the regular season. That is the problem with this line of thinking is that we're gonna have them for the full year. It's like, well, you guys won, and this is what they would say too. You guys won over 90 games. You're the best team in the American League. The problem is getting over the hump in the postseason.
It's a vicious cycle because it's win 90 plus games, yay. Go to the postseason, get embarrassed by the Red Sox, the Astros, the Blue Jays, and then we go back. We somehow forget about that, and then we say, "Wait a minute, we got there. Let's try to do it again." No,
Yeah, it's like
you need to change
it's
something.
very satisfied with where they're at, and we'll just roll the dice that it's going to go better for us this time. And I do think that Cashman is hamstrung by Hal,
of course.
And this is, if you're going to sell it, this is how you sell it. So he's kind of put in a tough spot.
Sure.
Now, they could make more trades. They could be more aggressive on those fronts. I don't think he's nearly been as aggressive as he could be in that aspect. But listen, it was his decision to give the qualifying offer to Trent Grisham.
Yeah, a terrible
and
one.
that was $20 million plus, and they accepted it, and that hamstrung them. And they did bring back Bellinger, which they needed to do.
Which is good.
But, yeah, it's just hard to get excited. And the thing, like, the relying on pitchers who are injured is scary to me because Garrett Cole is not exactly a spring chicken.
And he's not going to be what he was. I love Garrett Cole.
And he's going to come back. Like, whenever they say, hey, we're expecting this pitcher back from shoulder or elbow surgery in June, I push that back a month, in my opinion. And now sometimes it's the opposite. Maybe they're back even quicker. It happens, but not likely. Rodon is also hurt. And he also stinks, but that we can argue about that.
An argument for another day.
In the playoffs, stinks. Average. He's a good regular season pitcher. When is he actually going to be back? They don't know. Schmidt is supposed to be gone for over half the year.
Yep.
So you're relying on him to save you at the end.
So you're coming in with Fried. I love that. I'm glad they got a guy like Weathers. Weathers could be good, but
why would they could have been and we'll get to the Mets in a second. They could have been involved for a guy like Peralta, and they wouldn't have to pay. He's only making $8 million, and then you'd have a really great rotation at the end of the year. But I think they needed a better starting, even if it wasn't a guy of that caliber, a better starting pitcher than the quality they got for the interim. Because now you really are relying on staying healthy because they're thin. And that those guys are going to come back and be the guys that they have been and be there on time. And that is a dangerous assumption to make.
Oh, yeah. But it's cheap. And that's why they love it.
How?
It's cheap and they love it. Like George, this would never fly. If it was just constant, just head banging, let's get to the ALDS, let's get to the ALCS and lose, George, it would never fly with George. I like Aaron Boone. He would have been gone years ago. Yeah. Brian Cashman would probably be gone. But it's hey, we got to the ALCS, we got to the ALDS, let's run it back. No.
So let's get to the team that has done something and spent money.
Tried to do something different.
They have tried to completely, not only tried to do something different, but it basically changed almost their entire roster in an offseason out of a couple of players. Not a whole lot to touch on because Brian and I talked about it a lot last week with Robert, Bichette, and Peralta. Bichette, another guy, I know we just moved on from the Yankees. Why were they not involved to put him at shortstop?
Because they love Volpe. He's great. He's going to be fine. He'll figure it out.
Really, it's because he would have cost a lot of money.
Correct.
And we had to get creative, which Stearns did on that short-term deal. It seems like the Mets are done, and I think that they're in a good spot. Yeah, I think that they can add.
There's much more they need to address this.
Stearns has said that they're going to be opportunistic always. I do think that they could add some depth in the bullpen, middle relievers.
I think that's the biggest.
That's probably the biggest spot. Yeah, so I think that's the biggest spot. A lot of people have been talking about Peralta, and he doesn't want to sign an extension right now, which I don't think he should. He's I want to get to know the clubhouse and get to know pitching here and whatever. And it's also probably code for I could probably make more on the open market than I can for right now. People if they don't re-sign him, it's a waste. And I would just like to say that I think is short-sighted because if they traded for, let me put out this scenario. If they trade for Peralta, they give up 2 big prospects for a year of Peralta. They get to the offseason. They're talking to Peralta. Line of open communication. They're also talking to Skubal. And they decide to use that money on Skubal instead. Is that a waste? I would say no. You just basically, extended a better version of Freddie Peralta. So I think that they want to keep that option open of, we could give Skubal a lot of money or Peralta. It could be either one.
Yeah.
But then you have options. So I don't think it's dependent on an extension. And the last thing I guess we could touch on for them is there are rumblings that they would be in on Framber on a very short-term deal. I think if it's like a 1-year deal, go for it.
Absolutely.
You give up draft picks as the qualifying offer, and they've already done that. Whatever. It's MLB draft picks. If you can add him to the front end, I would not want to do anything more than 2 years. That's for sure. Like I'm afraid of committing long term.
After last year, you can't garner that much.
But if you could add him, great. I do think that the Mets' rotation is better than people think because you have Peralta now at the top. McLean has less pressure on him. He's an ace caliber pitcher. Then you get a lot of guys who have been 2s and 3s in their career. They might be 3s and 4s now, but you'd expect it between. So you have those two. Sean Manaea, who pitched through an elbow injury last year, could very well have a bounce back season. David Peterson was an all-star and then kind of hit a wall. Clay Holmes was very good for them really all season. Now has another year under his belt, stretching out to be a starter.
Yep.
You have Kodai Senga,
who we've seen what he can do, and he's
if
healthy.
He can turn it around. Yep. So you have 6 guys. That's not counting Jonah Tong, who I don't think will break camp unless he really impresses in spring training. But you have Jonah Tong, who will be in the rotation at some point of the year. I would almost guarantee that, and I think he'll be much better than he even was last year. And people are forgetting about Christian Scott, who was really promising in his rookie year and had to have Tommy John surgery, missed all of last year, but was a promising prospect for them. That's 8 starters. 2 of them are absolute sure things. Yeah. And then
throw a couple in the bullpen.
There's
one in the bullpen if you need.
Yeah, so like they have guys.
They've got arms.
They just needed the top flight guy.
Yep.
And now they have that.
Yep.
So we'll see if they add Framber, but for now they're done, and we are talking basketball when we come back. All right, we're going to wrap things up with our college team, starting with college basketball. We'll start with the men's. We'll start with Siena, winners, now 7-3 in conference, winners of 3 in a row. We were recording this, full transparency, on Thursday. So when you're airing this on Friday, they're playing today at Niagara, and I think this is really an opportunity. Jerry's talked about sweeping weekends. This is their first opportunity to do that at Niagara, at Canisius, a tough Western New York trip against maybe teams that don't have the best record in conference, but
never easy.
Always grueling. To make this 5 in a row, push to 9-3, and Jerry said it, this is the difference between being a 1-2 seed or a 3-4-5.
Especially when you can get a little momentum in this weekend, and then you've got Iona, St. Peter's, Quinnipiac after that, 3 of the top teams in the league, and that's where you can really see that seeding fluctuate.
Yeah, so that is a big week for them to get some momentum going into the stretch. These are the games you have to take care of. Yep. And coaches are never going to say that, like, they're not going to come out, they're the bottom of the conference, we need to take care. But, like, when teams are at the bottom of the conference, you got to beat them. You got to sweep those teams. You can't be dropping games to those teams if you want to be a top seed. Going over to the Albany men's basketball team, really a huge week for them. Now, again, we don't know what happened when you're watching this on Thursday. So they play NJIT. We won't talk too much about it, but NJIT and UMBC are 2 teams that are above them. UMBC was tied going into Thursday at 5-1. NJIT was 4-2 entering that UAlbany game. After losing 2 in a row, you have the 3-game win streak. You beat Vermont riding high to lose 2 tough ones on the road. They did have some injuries, but now this is another opportunity. DK, I mean, he said we need to win the game Thursday to kind of spark us towards, a big week here.
Yeah, they got to get that mojo going again. They got to get some guys healthy, but so far they've taken care of business at the Broadview Center, and that's exactly what they got to do this weekend to kind of reignite their mojo, like you said. Stay
with you all, but going over to the women, tough stretch for them. No other way to put it. They've lost 5 in a row. They're 1-6 in conference. They've lost 5 conference games the 2 years prior. So this is not common ground for them, but they've also lost 7 of their top scorers.
And
last
they've
year.
also been competitive. Like, this isn't just your average 5-game losing streak. They had a lead in the fourth quarter against Vermont. They played Maine to the wire. Like, they're in these games, and I think Colleen can make a few tweaks and they'll get on track.
Single digits to New Hampshire and Maine. They lost by Vermont by 11, but it was on the road. They lose by 2 at Binghamton, who's really good this year. The league is also better. Like they've talked about that.
It's deeper, I think.
There are not a lot of easy games on that schedule.
It's not just Maine and Vermont like it usually is.
And even Colleen said that the non-conference they went, I think 10-3 was a little bit of fool's gold because the balls were bouncing their way and things were going their way. And she's like,
and they were healthier, they were fresher. I mean, now you're kind of getting to the dog days of conference play, and they don't have a lot of people they're running out there.
And again, that NJIT game, we don't know the result, so nothing we can do. Same goes for Siena, who has their Pink Zone game tonight against Niagara. Obviously, a great cause there, raising money for local breast cancer survivors. So an awesome game every year that they do. And again, this is a team that has been up and they're 5-5 in conference, and that kind of makes sense because they win a couple in a row, they lose a couple in a row, and they're a really young team, but they're a talented team. And these are, again, Niagara is 0-19 entering the game, and they beat them by 40 or 2, or I think 107-65 or something like that the first time.
38 points, 107. 69.
69, okay. And then Canisius, who is another, like, these are games you got to take care of.
These are 4 straight teams. Manhattan's the only one tied with them, but the other 3 teams are all below them in the standings. So we look at that. I mean, they could, a couple weeks, they could be 9-5. So.
And then finally, we got to wrap up quickly with Union and RPI. I mean, 2 Mayor's Cups really for the ages, especially on the men's side. I'll let you talk about it more because you were working this weekend.
Yeah, Brandon Buer. I mean, for the Union to come back down 2 with 3 minutes left, score twice, force overtime. Brandon Buer, game winner, gets on Sports Center. I mean, you just couldn't have written it any better. And the women's game was phenomenal.
And News 10's Play of the Week.
News 10's Play of the Week, of course.
Which is more prestigious.
Absolutely. Jill Willis, shout out Jill Willis, South Glens Falls native, scored the first goal for Union, the women, on Saturday as well, the Mayor's Cup game. So like to see a little local representation. 2
overtime games in a row in the Mayor's Cup on the men's side.
Both so going Union's way though, so it's tough for RPI.
It is, and we're looking for a spark, and I mean. They had the 4-2 lead, and that is a tough one on the other side.
Yeah. But Union's got to use this right now. Big stretch coming up.
Big stretch, but we've made it through the stretch run. We've gone 10 for 10. Tommy's first time going 10 for 10. We loved having you here. That'll do it for us. We'll see you next week.